But
Have you
yeah,
been
no,
counseling
it's
people
it.
through their AI addictions?
I mean, I will. It's because compulsive behavior isn't necessarily about a substance, or it's about the relationship you have to whatever it is, right? Whether it's food, drugs, relationship, exercise, what have you. So it doesn't necessarily require like a substance in order to have a compulsive and addictive behavior. But I mean, it's the AI trend of people falling in love with their AI is absolutely not surprising
Hmm.
in any way, shape, sense, or form. I think one of the major differences is, because even as like little kid, this, when I was a child, I remember, I think this was actually in Japan, but it was kind of like a daytime show about, these men and women that fell in love with like fictional characters,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? And like how like they lost all interest in like real life dating or friendship and was just like fixated on all these fictional characters. But the main difference to a certain degree with something like falling in love with your AI, because this is also kind of similar to when like people develop obsession for their favorite celebrities, right?
Hmm.
But the main difference is that that kind of required like a one person imaginative relationship,
Hmm.
right? Whether it was a celebrity or whether it was a fictional character, or maybe even like people who develop obsessive characters with obsessive relationships with people that they know in real life but don't really interact with, like coworkers or whatnot. It's much more of an internal process. I think what AI does is that, because it gives you an active feedback,
Hmm.
right? It's much, much more compelling in that sense, right?
Tucson,
Hmm.
did you want to add anything?
That is really interesting. Yeah, the feedback aspect is important because I mean, there was this guy that I was having a little text relationship with, and he would just text me all the time, WYD. And I'm like, that's not a conversation, right? Also, it starts to feel like you're surveilling me. What are you doing all day? You want to know what I'm doing? That's a little bit weird. But when I would actually ask him like real questions, it might take him an hour or two to get back to me. That's called breadcrumbing. And if you have an AI, it's never going to do that to you. It's going to reply right away.
Mhm.
Maybe he
Hmm.
was busy and maybe he was afraid to answer your deep questions like, does the sun make a noise?
Oh, it does. And it takes 2 seconds to say yes. So, hey there. Oh,
Right. I
excuse
mean, it's kind of like this weird thing, right? Because of how much smartphone technology has changed human interaction in general,
Hmm.
me.
where like the hyper connectivity and the hyper availability actually in really strange ways makes more people wary of actual in person, or even like nowadays, like calling somebody randomly without like arranging beforehand can almost be seen as rude.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. Has the cultural shift towards cringe culture, coupled with constant surveillance, maybe changed the way people even begin to want to form relationships? And this is not just romantic relationships, but even friendships.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it kind of, it's an environment that often seems to bring out the worst in people in many ways, right? Because, if you tend towards somebody that's, very anxious and really needs connection, right? And then that hyper availability of texting, then you kind of fall into this pattern of, if someone doesn't respond to you in whatever timeline you feel is appropriate, that you can start creating all these narratives in your head of, oh, like this person doesn't like me, and which may absolutely not be true. It could be someone's just busy.
Mhm.
right? But we develop these really individual expectations out of connection that isn't necessarily involving the other person or reality.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Because of the constant availability. Like, I mean, I have friends that, call me all the time and I really enjoy that. But there are friends that I have where, if I wanted to call them, I have to make an appointment. And it's usually like weeks in advance, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I have friends that will kind of get upset at me if I just call and it's not an emergency.